Okay, it's the top of the hour, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome to the first webinar in our stress-free test prep series. We are so excited to have such a dedicated group of Indiana educators with us today. My name is Alyssa DiVincenzo, and I will be your host this afternoon. I am the Community and Social Media Specialist with Edulastic. Before we go ahead, give yourself a pat on the back. Thank yourself for taking the time out of your very busy schedule to be with us today as we all prepare for the upcoming state tests. Next, please. All right, we are lucky enough to have two wonderful Indiana educators with us today, Zella Guerin and Holly Summers. Zella is a special education math teacher and Holly is a 7th grade math teacher. Like you, I'm excited to hear about their tips and tricks for getting ready for the upcoming testing season. Edulastic is a great assessment tool to help you and your students get ready for state testing. Some of our features include over 50 tech-enhanced question types, 90,000 items in the Edulastic Certified Item Bank, 60,000 assessments in the test library, standards tracking, mastery reports, and player skins that look almost identical to the look and feel of your state test. This is just a few of the features available to you when you sign up for your Edulastic account. Indiana's ILEARN, or Indiana Learning Evaluation Assessment Readiness Network, is the summative accountability assessment for students. Students are assessed in grades 3 through 8 in ELA, math, science, social studies, and as well as the end of their biology and US government courses. Did you know that Edulastic features Indiana released items? You can easily put together items to create an assessment or assign a pre-made assessment. So you would log into your Edulastic account, go to the test library, and in the subject box, type in IDOE. Be sure to clear your filters before you type IDOE for best results. Once you do so, you can preview, assign, or clone and edit these assessments for your students. All right, the moment you've all been waiting for, I'm excited to turn our presentation over to our wonderful educators. First up, we have Zella Guerin. Zella is a special education math teacher in Indiana. Without further ado, I'm turning it over to Zella.
Good morning, and thank you all for joining. I'm excited to be here. I love Edulastic. I have used it probably for about the last 4 to 5 years, and I think it's a great program, and I use it beyond just test preparation. Next. One of the things I like about Edulastic is an opportunity for discourse among students. So often as teachers, we can get so caught up in getting the test correct or getting the answer correct without the students really learning the fundamental parts of the concept. And so I find for me, Edulastic does a wonderful job opening up the door for us to have a conversation. I know oftentimes when we are teaching, students can go through the work, they can do it well, and then when the test comes a few days later, it's like, oh, we just went over this and you were doing well. And so that's where Edulastic comes in for me, is being able to have the visual screen up for me to have conversations with my students about their progress and to talk about what we see going on. Go to the next one, please. So when we talk about visual, here's an example. For instance, in my classroom, the culture is such that learning is safe. So I actually put up my students' scoreboards while we are working on whether it is the warm-up, whether it is being used as an exit ticket, or even if it's being used as a practice assignment, not for actual testing. But my students have learned to gauge if they've gotten it correct, if they've missed part of it. And the thing I like best about this, it gives the student immediate feedback. And so now they're not practicing and getting the doing the homework wrong the entire time, but they're actually getting some practicing, some immediate feedback. It gives me a chance to showcase students who are doing it well. But what I look for as an educator is I'm looking for those yellow and red areas. Because I'm looking to see what concepts have we not mastered. And let's talk about that. Let's talk about how we're approaching this problem in particular. And students learn better from each other than just listening to me talk all the time. So I find that the visual benefits of using Edulastic in the classroom give me the opportunity for deeper learning. Next. Some of the things, this is an example with students also being able to write. In the upper grades, we look for them to be able to build proofs. But so often math has been based on getting the right answer. Well, proofs is about proving what you know. So I like being able to take a mathematical problem in Edulastic and then having a classroom discussion where you talk about what steps did you take? Where's the difficulty in starting the problem? These sorts of questions that I ask my students in approaching, rather than who got it right or who got it wrong. Did they use a formula? And this is what I think for me is key on any type of standardized assessment, is giving the students this thinking capability, so that when they come to a problem and can approach it, they can now just think about it rather than how do I jumble these numbers together. And Edulastic is great for giving me this opportunity here. And also the visual cue that I spoke about before. Okay. I think I may have one more slide after this one. No, all right. So that's my approach. That's how I use Edulastic in the classroom, really to get into some conversation with my students, to really talk math and talk about math, to get them to understand it on a deeper level than just spitting me out or regurgitating an answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Zella. That was a great presentation. Next up, we have Holly Summers. Holly is a 7th grade math teacher in Indiana. The floor is yours, Holly.
Hi, like she said, I'm a 7th grade math teacher currently. I also taught high school math prior to this last couple of years. So I've used Edulastic, I think, for the last 5 school years. So I did use it some in high school math as well. Okay, so if you can go ahead and go to the next slide. So one way I have been using Edulastic the most is for some weekly assignments. So I create standard-based weekly assignments. So whatever standard we're working on, because that's one thing I really like about Edulastic. It's really easy to go in, pick 7th grade math, Indiana standards are all there. If I'm on, 7G2, I can pick that standard specifically and get questions that are directly related to that. So I do one of those each week. It's also easy to incorporate spiral review problems. So I can go to a previous standard that we've covered and throw a couple questions in there for them to work on as well. It simplifies grading, which all of us using technology probably know that a lot of times that is a lot easier, but not just grading, but for feedback. Like the previous speaker mentioned there, seeing that green, red, yellow, it's really quick and easy to see what students may be struggling on. Something else I also really like about these weekly assignments is it's really easy to redirect the students. So if they get a low score, to let them redo it, work until they get a higher percentage. So multiple opportunities for students to succeed, as well as the option when they're working within the assignment to check their answer on that particular one as well. So they can kind of check it. It allows them to chunk through the material and make sure that they're on the right track. Again, like she mentioned previously, so they're not doing all of this homework and doing the whole thing wrong, gives them the chance to check periodically. It also is a really easy way to provide remediation and enrichment assignments, especially because there are all of those standards available. So if I look at like the like the crosswalks that are provided by the state. So if I can see that a student's really struggling in the standard that we're doing right now, if I maybe look at that 5th or 6th grade standard that leads into the 7th grade standard, I can create opportunities for them to work on those questions as well. It's real easy to just assign it to them, or to create like optional assignments for them to work on for those kind of things. So that's also helpful. Okay, we can go to the next slide, I think. And so like my approach with that was all with the weekly assignments. I've just found that it works really well. I open it on Monday and they have till Friday. And sometimes I've done the weekend too, so they can work on it a little bit at home. They can work on it in class and ask me questions, those kind of thing. But you could really use all of those things that I just talked about and create classroom assessments like quizzes and tests and do them that way as well. I've just found that I really like to use it for the weekly assignment. So they're getting lots of practice with it, building up towards the test as well. You can go ahead and go to the next slide. So they also mentioned the released items. So I've used this a couple of different ways. So one way I really like to do is a guided practice in class. It's a really great opportunity to have them work on it on the screen, practice like working out on paper and transferring that information in that format. Or I can be doing it on my projector as well. It's also great. You can try other grade levels. So when I'm really working towards test prep, I'm really trying to kids to focus on not being anxious about the test and knowing that they can do it. So it's great that I can also go find, like I said, I teach 7th grade, so I tend to default to 5th and 6th grade. So a lot of times I'll start with the 5th and 6th grade questions, and that way it builds confidence in that they can see more of those questions, and then we can work on the 2nd grade, the 7th grade one as well. And I really like that's really easy to go in there and search it and find different ones pretty quickly. And then I've also found that works great as a parent resource. So you do have the option, like kids can go on and see those released items, or parents can see released items through the DOE website. It's not the easiest thing to find necessarily, or to walk through instruction wise, but since I use Edulastic every week in class, my kids are really familiar with it. I have those links embedded into our LMS. So when I send out my parent newsletter and I say, we've been working on some practice questions that were released items, have your child show you what we did in Edulastic this week. It's a really easy way for them to get a chance to see those questions as well, and look through and practice them with their kid. And just sometimes parents are surprised when they see how tough those questions can be. So it's a great opportunity for those to see those as well. And then the next slide. So kind of just overall with using all those things, the biggest benefits to me that I think Edulastic provides that I have not really been able to find in any other platform, that why I kind of keep coming back to Edulastic, is the one question at a time format. I think that's great for kids to focus on that one questions at a time on their screen. So I like that. Using an online calculator, obviously that's something that we're all moving towards, but it's a different tool for kids to use. So I always try to embed that calculator option, or I can provide, where if it's something that they're not using a calculator on, kind of again, depending on your grade level. Middle school, we're kind of at that where sometimes they can use it and sometimes they can't. But it gives them practice in using that online calculator tool, and just the various technology enhanced question format. So the drag and drop, the typing in an answer blank, certain formats for different questions, those kind of things I think have been really great. I know something that kids struggle with a lot of times, if it's a matching question or a drag and drop and there's more options available than what there are blanks, or vice versa if they have to use something twice. So it's a really good format for them to have the chance to practice those kind of questions. And again, I've yet to see like really any other format, even though we have a great LMS and I do a lot of things with it, but I still feel like Edulastic provides the closest thing to way those technology enhanced questions look on ILEARN. And so that's why I continue to try to use it in a lot of classroom activities. I think that's it on mine. I think that's my last slide. That was my last point, I think. Yeah.
Great. Thank you, Holly. Super informative presentation. And I hope after both of our educators today, you take some great ideas back to your classroom and you're able to try some new things with Edulastic. All right. I also encourage you to check out some of our additional resources. If we can go on ahead to the next slide here. Great. So there are a couple things you can do if you are looking for help on Edulastic. You can visit the Teacher Training Hub, which includes live and on-demand trainings some swag requests, and more. Our distance learning hub, which is a great place to get tips on making the transition from in-person to remote instruction with Edulastic. Our Facebook community is a great place where educators can chat about using Edulastic, share their tips and tricks. Our help center is the end all, any questions you have that are commonly asked questions, you could go ahead to our help center. You'll find tutorials, step-by-step instructions, and more. And finally, you can visit our Edulastic blog, where you can find best practices for assessments, featured assessments, events, and more. We're going to open up for our discussion and Q&A with our presenters for today. So you can drop your questions in the Q&A box, and we will make sure to address them.
Alyssa?
Yes.
Early on, someone asked if Edulastic was only about math. I'm not sure who that is, but I do know that it's not limited to mathematics only. It's really up to the creativity of the person who's using the platform.
Yes, thanks for catching that, Zella. Yeah, so Edulastic offers assessments for ELA, math, science, social studies, and really, just like Zella said, you can use it how you need to. If you, teach something that I did not mention, you can search by individual item in the item bank, as well as create your own items and tests. So it can really be used for any subject.
I saw someone ask about the free versus premium, and I'll tell you, like, when I first started, I just started with the free, and it was a good way to kind of get familiar, but I felt like the biggest difference was the variety of options that I was able to use when I was creating assignments. So I could customize them a little bit more for my class or for a particular student. That was kind of after I started using it a lot. That was when I moved to the premium, just because of those more available. I was able to better customize those assessments for my class.
Yes,
and
thanks.
the data tracking is a lot better in the premium.
Yeah.
If you really want to track where your kids are with the standards and things, it is just awesome, the data.
Yeah,
available.
the reports and all of that, right?
Yes.
Like, yeah, you could do a lot with the reports and the data afterwards. Yeah.
Right. Awesome. Thank you, Holly. And to tag on to that, if you are looking to just try the free version, you won't feel many restrictions in the free version. It's not like, you'll be missing anything or anything will disappear after a certain amount of time. It's just that those premium features are the step up. That's truly the difference there. But a lot of people stick with the free version too. They love the free version. So both are highly functional for the classroom.